Hey, Tracy.
Okay. Hi. All right, so it's now 5:02. We are opening the meeting. And can I get a motion to go into executive session?
To discuss what?
Personnel and collective bargaining.
I move that we go into closed session to discuss personnel matters and collective bargaining.
Second.
Is your properly moved in second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We're going into executive session. Thank you. We expect to be out at 5:30. Huh?
Over 400 employees who whether work in an office or supporting teacher leaders, administrators, help our students find their way and give them hope for the future. Over the past year, our district has made progress in key areas. We have improved many of our systemic practices to build capacity of all of our adults in the system, to provide more accountability and high expectations of the adults in the system, and to build consistency. We've worked diligently to improve our communication to our parents and our stakeholders, and this is an ongoing initiative, as you will learn and see in our strategic plan. We, this year, have provided after-school programs in our schools. We have reignited our ALP program. We've updated our curriculum and instruction materials in math. Our math data is showing improvements, and every school has an SEL plan aligned with SEL state standards and the CASEL framework. Our administrators and teachers have been engaged in very rigorous, high-level professional development focused on effective teaching and instructional practices, because we know what adults do is what's going to help our students succeed. So we have focused on improving what we do. With your support, we passed the energy performance contract that will create energy efficiency and better instructional environments for our students to learn and grow. In school and safety and security, we increased the number of security officers with continued facility enhancements recommended in this year's budget. These enhancements would not have been possible without the tireless work of our school board, administrators, teachers, district staff, parents, students, and our community stakeholders. I want to specifically thank Trustee Nares, our board president, Ashley Pineda, our vice president, and board members Chris Fallon, David Warner, Jamal Thomas, Julia Lange, and Kiana Washington for their unwavering commitment to the district. But even with this progress, there is significant work to be done. And with a greater sense of urgency, national data has shown that disparities we know in student outcomes and experiences persist, particularly for students impacted by poverty and for Latinx and African American students. For the 2023-24 school year, we want to expand our focus on assuring classrooms that are culturally responsive to student needs. We have that commitment in our strategic plan. We are committed to developing and implementing strategies that will ensure welcoming environments, high expectations, rigorous instruction, inclusive curriculum and assessment, and ongoing professional learning. This budget lays out the strategies that we will use to achieve our goals and the investments we need to achieve our strategies. Our budget goals are in the plan, and we will present them to you now. After the 2023 budget, there is aligned with our district strategic plan and the 5 focus areas of student success, premier workforce, infrastructure, communication and engagement, safe and healthy climate and environment. I think I left one off. I will now turn it over to Dr. Macaluso, our assistant superintendent, who will now go over a couple of slides. Yes, I covered that. I went over all of that. So we will begin here. Here is where the first slide, if you would turn your attention here, this slide shows the alignment of our strategic plan to our district initiatives. So there are 5 areas there: curriculum and instructional initiative there. So it's aligned with the strategic focus area of student success, safe and healthy climate, and culture. So when you hear these initiatives, that you will see that alignment. Our professional development and partnerships we're going to be sharing tonight will be aligned with the focus area of premier workforce. The recommendations for staffing that we will list tonight and recommendations for district operation and structure are aligned with the infrastructure and premier workforce areas. Recommendations we will make tonight to improve safety, health, and security, you will see are aligned with the focus area of safe and healthy climate and culture. And we will also go over the current phase 1 projects that we are currently working on and our focus for the next years coming, all aligned with the strategic plan area infrastructure.
So from a curriculum and instruction lens, we want to address 3 major buckets. This is not something that we will not emphasize, or we will not focus on, and we will not address other areas, but our areas of primary focus are as follows. We want to continue our work with our SEL programming, and so what that would look like is providing restorative practice training to our faculty and to our staff members. I think everyone can just to pause there. I think I see the audience.
We have to modify yours.
Oh, I got the other one. I got the other one.
So let me pause so that you can follow along. I see people looking for my clicker.
Oh, that's what you
Let's make sure this is the right one.
It's thicker.
It's thicker. There you go. It's thicker. Thickerer.
Sorry, Dr. Now I can follow. Thank you.
So continuing on, restorative practices for all of our educators and then all of our staff members, looking at how we can use those relationship skills so that we can enhance our ability to help guide our students to make better decisions. Looking at a uniform social skills program. So right now what we're looking at is possibly a program that would span all grade levels with some additional supports at the pre-K 6 level with a second program for that. And something that I'm working on with Dr. Iverson is looking at possibility of creating a student advisory group whereby we can have some of our students from Woodlands Middle High School give us feedback loop as regarding their educational process, but as well as looking at some of the other ways that we can enhance the curriculum and instruction program. We want to then take a look at creating some cohesion or strengthening the cohesion between WISE and our college and career readiness program. So this year, we made a strategic decision to provide some during the day instruction for our students in college and career preparation, writing college essays, how they can tackle exams that are used for admissions into college. And so we want to take that and we want to overlay that, do some continued work with overlaying that with WISE so that students have some workplace internship experiences at the end of their senior year, which also gives them credit and ties it to their preparation for college and careers beyond Woodlands Middle High School. And then again, strengthening our one-to-one device program. That's something that we had in place in the district during the pandemic, and we want to continue strengthening that by replacing units that are no longer effective or just providing units that are more up to date and meet the needs of our students and our teachers. Here are some of the recommended partners that we would use to execute the deliverables of the curriculum, well, the total school program, because what you'll see here is that there are some vendors here that aren't necessarily related to teaching and learning, but this is just a quick snapshot. So at Woodlands Middle High School, there's a few of the partners there that we would want to continue working with. Equal opportunity schools, looking at how we continue to have our students, or maybe some students who are usually underrepresented in our advanced coursework, how we can have them enter into some of that IB coursework. Targeted leadership is the work that we are doing across the district. We're having our leadership teams at the school level, which comprise teachers as well as the leaders, how they continue to look at data to inform practices. We're using the New York State Education Department Culturally Responsive and Sustaining Education Framework. We know that we're an IB program, and in the district we want to continue strengthening that, leveraging the supports of IB, providing some additional training for security and support staff, so that would again be the restorative practices and some other things that we know that those staff members have asked us to do. I've already talked a little bit about SEL and restorative practices. We also want to make sure that we're responsive to the community's requested needs for having some after-school and before-school care. And then the next two items there are specifically related to enhancing our teacher pool. So how can we create a pipeline whereby we have either substitutes who are ready to fill in positions when we need them just due to a mid-year vacancy, and any of those variations that we have. And then Westchester Prep is connected to the college and career readiness piece. And then last and certainly but not least, looking at our partners at VBS Architects so that we can continue to leverage the instructional spaces that we have in our schools to maximize learning for our students. I'll start off on this slide with the first bullet point, which is an educational technology specialist / website manager. So we have also heard from the community as well as our own internal review of district practices that we would really like to continue to enhance the public facing website so that community members as well as our faculty, students, and parents can find useful information about Greenberg Central School District and what the instructional programs are in our district, as well as continue to support the work of the technology department in the areas of data reporting, perhaps looking at our programs that we have here in Woodlands Middle High School and how we might also leverage some of the work of our television studio here at Woodlands Middle High.
Next, we would like to build up our maintenance staff. And instead of just hiring a general maintenance person, we'd like to hire somebody with a specialized area, such as HVAC knowledge, or an electrician, a plumber, a mason, something like that. If we did that, we could do small projects amongst all of our schools, and we wouldn't have to pay prevailing wages to an outside organization. So even though we couldn't probably get everything done, we could cut back or cut down what we spend on some items because we would be able to do those things in-house.
Looking at the next two items, science coach and ECP. The third one is taking a look at, so last year we requested of the board as well as the public to consider approving a math coach, and as Dr. Iverson mentioned in her opening address, our math achievement scores appear currently right now to be in the upward trajectory, and so we want to continue that work with curriculum instruction by recommending a science coach who would help our faculty look at how we integrate some of the science concepts into all content areas, but in particular the changes in New York State Education Department level whereby the intermediate assessment that was typically done at 4th grade is now going to be at a different grade level, and then also involves a different level of science understanding where students need to really connect the science versus knowing the material kind of as discrete information or discrete facts, and so that would be our vision for the science coach. And then the fourth bullet is taking a look at our ECP program. So currently ECP has a modified or a slightly truncated schedule as compared to the rest of the school district. And so by converting the ECP teacher schedule, this would allow us to have more contact time with our teachers, with professional development, and allow the students to have some more contact time with the teachers as well.
The district is looking to reignite the partnership we have with the Greenberg Police Department for a school resource officer who will work across the district in all of our schools, supporting our students with their social, emotional, mental needs, and helping them peacefully learn the skills to coexist and to succeed. This is a partnership that was in the district historically. We are looking to, as again, reignite that partnership and hope that, and this was one of the recommendations that came out of the safety audit that we recently had completed, and it is aligned with the results that will be shared at that meeting when it is scheduled. The coordinator of diversity and equity is a big one. This is a new position. As you heard me talk about, we're rolling out, and it's deeply embedded in our strategic plan, the implementation of DEI. This is a heavy lift, and we need a coordinator or a person with a laser-like focus on this work. So we're looking to hire a person to spearhead and lead the district in this heavy lift to raise the level of exposure and rigor in our practices in the areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion, aligned with the 4 principles of the New York State framework that stipulates having a welcoming environment, rigorous instruction, inclusive practices, and ongoing professional development. This person will be that one to coordinate all of this effort and lead the district, as well as coordinate programs and activities across the district that celebrate diversity in all of our schools, with major assemblies and events scheduled throughout the year.
The next is a district-wide safety coordinator, and this would all be dependent on if we had a school resource officer and or a dean of students. This could be a full-time position because we're always looking to enhance our safety staff, or it could be a stipend to somebody to coordinate such activities for them in arranging staff. When some are out, we spread our staff amongst our buildings, and somebody could do that, coordinate all the trainings and the professional developments, and schedule any after-school events for coverage that is now done by several different people. We felt that this could all be isolated into one location with one person.
Ms. Raymond, I want to say questions for the end, but I just need you to clarify. You said this has to do with the SRO or the team?
Well, originally I had thought that this could be a full-time position, but it could also be a stipended position.
So to the SRO or dean?
Correct,
Oh, it's not.
correct, yes, in addition to, correct,
Got
yes.
it.
Mhm.
For the college and career readiness program, we're requesting a staff member for that, a faculty member. This year we were able to pilot the program using some existing staffing and working around some schedules, but we anticipate for next year that we will not be able to do that, so we would need to add a position in the budget for that purpose.
And the Dean of Students is a position that we're hoping to reignite, and a lot of it, as Ms. Raymond said, depends on the SRO. What we have found out from the Greenberg Police Department, they are short with officers, and they right now have no one who can implement this program, so a lot of that position is contingent on if there's someone to do it. So the Dean of Students is there as another position that one or the other we're hoping to have, but this person will support the academic, social, emotional, and disciplinary needs of the students at Woodlands Middle High School. It's a 12-month position, and it will be in the GAO bargaining unit, and the position will report to the building principal and support the school and the central administration and the administration of the high school, and building a climate that builds relationships with students, cultivates that with a safe environment for students, a safe haven where there are trusted adults for students to report to, and be somewhat like a buffer between administration and the classroom before students are sent out, and decrease the number of discipline incidents we've had this year.
Next is safety and security. As you know, we have been researching putting vaping detectors at the Woodlands Middle High School. Currently, between Mr. Leese, Mr. Pugliese, and Mr. Smith, and some of our outside vendors, we are trying to see what is the best avenue to go and what company to go with. So that is an ongoing process right now. The vestibule at the Woodlands Middle High School will begin in May and carry probably through part of the summer, but hopefully then that will be done and we will have a secure front entrance for the high school. We would like to put access controls on all of our doors at the Woodlands Middle High School, and what that means is that students would only have access to the areas that pertain to them. So for example, the high school could not get up, could not go into the middle school could not come down to the high school, and trying to just control the areas that all of our students go to. We are researching technology to detect weapons in backpacks and purses in large open spaces. And we would like to add additional cameras indoors and outdoors at most of our schools in areas that new cameras have been put in that we are now seeing that we are lacking some cameras in spots to detect anything. And there are some cameras at RJ Bailey, there are some floors at RJ Bailey that do not have cameras, and we would like to make sure that we have them on all floors. The visitor management system will be upgraded. The company that we use now has been bought out by another company, so we will be upgrading that system.
Is that Lobby Guard? I'm sorry.
Lobby Guard has been bought by Vercada.
Okay, sorry.
Yep, Lobby Guard has been bought by Vercada, the same people who do our security cameras. We would like to put a repeater on the Woodlands Middle High School to enhance cell service, and that would be like a tower on the top of this building that would enhance the cell service so that you would be able to use a cell phone in all areas, in all locations of the high school, especially for emergencies. On top of that, we would like to upgrade our security radios throughout all of our school buildings. It would be ideal if all of our buildings used the same radios and each school had their own frequency, but then central administration, administrators, and SSOs would have access to all of the channels so we could speak amongst the buildings in case of an emergency. And I am currently working with Motorola, who is part of our, does our radios. There is a grant for that, so I will be trying to work with them to see if Greenberg can secure that grant. The third grade window walls in the third grade wing, obviously we want to replace those, so that is a concern to us. The PA system here in the high school, there are some dead spots where you cannot hear the PA announcements, so we would like to research upgrading that. And we need some doors replaced at LF Jackson. As far as our infrastructure is concerned, capital construction phase 1 is ongoing and will continue through the summer and part of the next school year. We would like to upgrade and or change the stage lighting at Woodlands Middle High School. Paving needs to be done at all of our school buildings. The Woodlands Middle High School locker room bathrooms need to be replaced. We would like to put a scoreboard on the football and the soccer field. We all know that the science labs here in the high school need to be upgraded, and one of the boilers, especially at LF Jackson, needs to be replaced. RJ Bailey would like to continue the floor replacement cycle that they are in and put the classrooms on a cycle of painting each summer. And I put again the Highview third grade window walls here as part of our infrastructure. So what are some of our budget trends? So right now, the Office of the State Comptroller puts out a chart every year, and actually it is an ongoing chart. And as of the last time that it was reported, for the August 1st to July 31st, CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, was 7.91%. We already know, we've heard from Swiss Chip, which is our largest of the 3 health insurance companies that we use, that next year's increase will be 8%. We have settled with 3 of our 4 bargaining units, so we do know what the salary schedules will be there. And we recently this year upgraded our teacher assistant salary schedules, which will be folded, have been folded into this budget. New York State Teacher Retirement System has released that they are decreasing the annual contribution from 10.29% to 9.76%. And the Employee Retirement System, as you know, is on a 6-tier basis, and that averages anywhere from 14.56 to 16% increase every year. State aid, this was the year that they finally phased in all of the foundation aid. And the UPK aid increased, but that's all based on enrollment. If you cannot provide a UPK for the number of students that have been allotted to you, then your aid is only given on the number that you can provide to. So if you look at our state aid numbers under UPK, it says that we are qualified for over $600,000, but because of the limited number of students that we can provide space to, we can only receive about $450,000 in UPK aid. And we always try to maximize our expense-driven aids, which are BOCES and transportation. The tax cap, because the CPI was 7.91%, we are allowed to either use the lesser of the consumer price index or CPI and 2%. So CPI, since it's 7.91%, we will be capped at the 2%. And the federal aid, such as the CRISA and the American Rescue Plan money, is still active until 2024. So for our tax cap, the important numbers that we need to know is the tax-based growth factor. This is an increase from this school year. This year it was 1.0147. It has increased to 1.024. And that just means that there is construction and or capital improvements happening within our school district. The allowable tax levy growth factor, as I just stated, will be capped at 2%. And it's important that we know what our payment in lieu of taxes or our pilot payments are. Those are payments that are paid to the school district by corporations or companies that have been lured to our district, and they are given a reduction in they don't pay taxes for about 10 years, instead they make a payment which is called the pilot payment to the district. After 10 years, then they will go on the tax rolls and they will pay taxes just like every other taxpayer. And then the capital tax levy exclusion, if we had a bond that was out there, then we would be able to use a capital tax levy exclusion, but because we don't have any bonds at this time, we are able to use the BOCES capital expenses that we pay annually to BOCES as part of our calculation. So this chart right here, I just wanted to show you the difference between inflation and the tax levy, and I went back to 2018-19 to show you what the change in the CPI was for each school year that we were able to use in the tax cap calculation. And you'll see anywhere that is over 2%, we were capped at the 2%, but if it was under 2%, we were limited to what that was. And that happened in 2020, 21, and 2021, 22. You'll see what the simple majority tax cap was from the calculation that is done every year, and what the actual tax levy was for each school year. And you will see that the actual tax levy that the district imposed on their taxpayers was less than what the simple majority was. So when we do the real property tax cap calculation, which I have done and I have submitted to the state, it had to be submitted as of yesterday, a preliminary amount, and as we go through the budget process and things change, if they change, then I will update those numbers in the state comptroller's website so that they have more accurate numbers. So when you do the property tax cap, you start with the property tax levy for the year before, which was this school year, was $63,369,015. Then you can multiply that by the tax-based growth factor of the 1.024, which would give you a levy of $64,889,871. Then to that, you add the pilot payments that you received in this school year, but you subtract out any capital tax levy exclusions that we used to do the tax cap. And that's because a capital tax levy is added or subtracted to the tax cap because that is an obligation the district has that they cannot avoid. So irregardless of if a budget passes or if we went on a contingent budget, we would still be obligated to pay our capital tax levies for both BOCES and if we had a bond. Then this is multiplied by CPI of 1.02. We then subtract out the pilot payments we anticipate collecting next year because those are people who will eventually have a tax bill, tax liability, but we subtract that out because this is what we are guaranteeing that we will receive from them. So we don't want to include it in our tax levy, and we add back the capital tax levy exclusion that we anticipate that we will be obligated to pay for next year. So that would be a tax levy of $66,237,973, which would be a simple majority. And that is a 4.53% increase from this year's tax levy. Then to that, because we did not levy the maximum amount that we could under a simple majority, the state comptroller allows us to take the total property taxes levy. Because they were less than the levy limit, we could take the carryover, which is 1.5% of the prior levy. So that is $983,433 that we would be able to add to this tax levy because we didn't use it in the previous year. So for a simple majority, Greenberg could levy $67,221,406, which would be a 6.08% increase from this year's levy to that levy. And then just as a reminder that each $633,690 added to the existing tax levy would equal 1%. So obviously $633,690 multiplied by 6.08% would show you the difference between the two levies. Are there any questions?
So, I think I know the answer to this question already, but I know that what's happening at the state level is that state aid is being increased, or at least from the governor's perspective. And the governor usually pushes back against the legislature in the past, and this time the governor thinks we should have more aid for education. So I'm looking and saying, my God, I don't want to put us up a 6.08% tax levy increase because then you've got a bunch of taxpayers who are dealing with the high rate of inflation. But I do want the programs for our kids, so there's some kind of balancing act. And one way of trying to look at the whole picture is to see, did the amount of tax income from the state, is that going to go up and make things a little easier for us? So I guess I'm looking for the report that we normally get of what's coming in on the revenue side.
Right.
Where are we on that?
As I said before, you will be getting that in your Friday packet.
Good, and you were waiting on?
I was waiting on the sales tax numbers.
Okay, so we'll
We
have
just
that soon.
received a final sales tax number, so I could estimate that more accurately than what was previously received. And I will use the governor's numbers for state aid because that is the only numbers that we have right now.
Thank you.
So, some clarity. So the 6.08 is which is going, because
That's the maximum we could do for a simple majority.
because here, right, you said tax levy growth factor is 2%. So is that?
No, so that's the misconception. People think that when you say that the tax levy growth factor is not 2%, it's what CPI can be raised by, okay? That doesn't mean that the tax levy from year to year is gonna be 2%.
Okay, right, and we've been hearing 2% for so long.
Right.
All right, so the other, I just want to piggyback off of Trustee Warner. He said he understands it if we're going to have programs for students. I don't see a lot of programs for students. So that's a concern. I see a lot of staffing. So I just need to see a little bit more actual programs for students to even understand, you know, if that comes to 6.08, because when I'm looking at professional development, it's teachers, and I don't really know how today's students, tomorrow's teachers correlate with the framework, but, and then I see like a, you know, Westchester Prep. So I don't see programs being designed that we need to, you know, for our students. Like if we're doing a science research program, or if we're doing, you know, our STEAM activities, or we're trying to get our students to, you know, get somewhere with other competitions, Lego robotics, and all these different things. I guess that's when you said programs for students, that's what I was thinking. Were you thinking something different when you said programs for students, or Trustee Warner? I just
So
wanna
I'm thinking, right, so when I look and I see science coach, I immediately go to, in my head, okay, we're gonna have staff enough to go after that science research program again, and bring it up district-wide, because you have to start training the kids, like junior high, or even in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, to start working your way up so that you can be competitive, not just within our district, but, you know.
Right,
So
okay.
I'm seeing
Right.
programs when I look at the head count.
Right, so for me, knowing the history, we were connected with science research and Regeneron, and we didn't have a science coach. So that's why I am like, you know, just wondering. So my wonderings are around a lot of the staff that was presented tonight. So I have questions on that, but I'm not gonna have questions tonight on it, because it's your presentation.
So we gave you, I sent to you a copy of this presentation. I gave you I gave you the wish list. I also gave you a copy of the expenditure side of the budget with all of the salaries, with the increase in health insurance, with increases in our utilities, because those have gone up between 20 and 25%, and with increases in transportation, because that will go up by CPI. Anything that you see in here tonight that Dr. Iverson, Dr. Macaluso, and I have spoken about has not been added to that budget, okay? And I gave you the expenditure side. I will give you the revenue side, but I will also give you another expenditure side once we get a direction from the board. I mean, obviously, we could go up, and like you said, Trustee Warner, you probably wouldn't want to, but we could go up to a $67.2 million tax levy and stay within a simple majority. So, not to speak for Dr. Iverson, but we would need some kind of direction from you on where you want the tax levy to go to, so that we could then present.
Okay, can you give me a couple of things? One is, I know that you have in the wish list, you had in many cases projected salary or salary range, and then it always said plus benefits. Is there a ballpark figure you use to estimate for each FTE what the benefits
That's a
are?
very good question. So what I do is when I budget salaries, I'm pessimistic. And what I mean by that is, the three of us speak and I say, what are we going to use for a new teacher? MA, MA 30, MA 60, and what step? So that we try not to go, we say it's MA 30, step 8. We try not to then go over step 8 if we can't, if it's possible, because that's what I budgeted. And then I budget for a family plan. Because the difference between an individual plan and a family plan is huge. So right now, our family plan is about somewhere between $33,000 and $35,000 a year.
Okay, 35K is a good round number to use
Yep.
when trying to figure this out. And when I looked at the version of the budget, you had it looked like about a 3% overall increase, and that's without any of the wish list.
That's without
Correct.
any
So
of,
we've got a baseline
that's
of about 3%.
without any of what
yeah.
we've spoken about tonight. And Dr. Macaluso, Dr. Iverson and I have met with all of the principals and directors and have had their, we've gone over the wish lists and stuff with them, and then this is what it resulted.
we pulled from their wish list and put this together. So, but we shared their wish list with you, because, just for you to see what each brought to the table, and then develop from that this presentation based on what we felt holistically is what the district needs,
Right.
that will work for all schools.
So if you were to say to us, you know, don't go over a 3% tax levy increase, we wouldn't, and I'd add all the other revenues, and then we would compare it to the expenditures and say, okay, we could only add this.
But we're at 3% already.
But the state may
No,
have
no, you haven't
increased
seen the
their rate.
revenue side yet.
Right.
So if the state increases their rate, we may get a little something. If, we can only do the science position and all this other stuff, we can't do it. Then, okay, then we've got to think about that.
Yes.
Can I just make sure I heard properly? So the budget, this that you gave us,
Yeah.
this is what is now at 3% because of the, okay.
This is with new
Just 'cause
salaries,
that's not-
benefits,
That's it.
utilities, and transportation increases, nothing else.
Nothing else.
Nothing from here has been added to
Nothing.
that.
And the
Instruction.
transportation increases adding on to the plan to change timing.
There was a
The,
bump.
the plan to what?
Change time.
The
Right.
plan, the
To put it-
request to put everyone on the same time schedule,
The ECP?
No, everybody.
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 Oh,
That,
Yes.
no,
No.
that is not in that, and
That's not in
unfortunately, that is a bigger question or bigger
That's not in
discussion.
there.
No, that is a bigger discussion because
It's
that,
not doable yet.
right now is not, that is not doable.
Yeah, we tried. So anybody has a question before I say something?
No, go ahead.
I mean, we
Okay,
can
so-
go through and you'll go ahead.
Go ahead.
I mean, if you would,
Okay, go
we
ahead.
would hope, I'm
We're
gonna
not
speak
stay
for
long,
myself,
but
if you
we're
could
almost-
give us some kind of direction on where you want us to go for the next presentation, you know, stay within this tax levy, and then we could,
We could go back and.
I'm like, you can't go back.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I would say is, when we figure out how much we can go up based upon what the increased state aid does for us and all of that, then we go back and we prioritize these things. And we figure out what we want the most, and we have to figure out some kind of pretty much arbitrary cutoff point as to how high we're willing to let that tax levy go.
If you
Right.
need something to maybe, in the interim while we're waiting, maybe give us a priority list.
Okay.
Sure.
And then and whatever falls, right, above or below, whatever
Yeah.
that's what we end up with. And we may not get everything this time around, but we'll get something.
So I just wanted to state a concern,
Yes.
in reference to technology to detect weapons and backpacks versus et cetera. That brings very much concern to me that we are going in that direction in this community. And, you know, in one statement that was being made earlier, we were doing a little description, and part of it was saying poverty, and then comma, Latinx, comma, African American. So, you know, I'm very much trying to make sure that people don't stereotype our community, because we are a black and brown community. So when we start to put this into writing, certain things about technology to detect weapons and backpack purses, it really concerns me. And I understand that we're thinking safety, but I also need us to have a certain mindset about our community and who we really are. Who we are historically, who we are when it comes to socioeconomics, and who we are demographically. And when I start to see things like that, I feel that people are putting us in a certain category that Greenberg is not. So that truly concerns me, to detect weapons in backpacks and purses. I'm just letting you know. I'm not.
You want to address it now?
You don't even have to. I just want everyone to hear that concerns me about our community. Everything else, and then I thought about R.J. Bailey. You talked about the floors, but I know their bathrooms really need an upgrade too. So I don't know if that can even be a thought, but I know their bathrooms are very antiquated and they're not nice. So I'm just wondering if that could just be some type of thought.
Yes, Trustee Washington's question about the technology, could we just kind of put it out there? Does that mean metal detectors? Is
Right.
that what that is?
No.
No, okay.
No, this is not technology, it's not at the door, that type where they're scanning backpacks, no. It's the type of technology, is new cutting edge, a lot of districts have gone to this, that they're like sensors placed in open areas and common areas that can sense when metal, something of this nature is in a backpack and send it off, and then it alerts the administration to ascend on that area and to be proactive, because, you know, where weapons have been bought in schools, had those schools been able to detect that beforehand, some of the mass shootings that we've seen across the nation would have probably been prevented. So it's just a system to detect what's in backpacks that we aren't aware of and have no reason to go search a backpack because we don't know. And it sets off something so we can pull, you know, be proactive and make sure we get that out of the environment before anyone gets hurt. So it's in common areas, isn't it, where it would be, from what we understand, Lisa, is placed in common areas. Yes.
So is
And it's something in the ceiling, we just are looking into it, we listed it here, but we know that's the cutting edge that a lot of districts are moving to, around the weaponry.
So just general statements. I think getting the priority list out of the wish list will be good, because I think, I don't think we're gonna be able to fill everything, and I definitely don't wanna go up to the 6.8%, 6.08%. And on that note, I just wanna be mindful of the environment we're in. You alluded to inflation. We know there's possible changes in Greenberg Town, which may impact the tax base for our homeowners, which I believe the board's gonna send out some communication to the community soon. Sorry to get it to you. And on top of that, I mean, with our space needs, we are probably gonna go for a phase 2, you know, you're gonna give us a phase 2 recommendation. We may or may not be going for a small bond sooner rather than later, or a medium-sized bond. So I just wanna be mindful of all of that. I can't sit here and say my preference is to remain under X% right now. I'd like to see the priority list before I comment on it. And I'm hoping we can combine some of these things into maybe one, you know, some of these multiple staffing issues into one staff position, for example. I'll plant that seed.
Sounds creative.
Yeah. Okay, are there any other questions? Anything that's not in the budget that trustees were curious about? Trustee,
Well, when
you guys
Mr. Warner
are
said
pointing at each
maybe,
other.
Well, I mean, okay, so what I mean, I have notes on each of the things,
Okay.
but I didn't want to monopolize the time if we have limited time. So
Was there anything that you didn't see in here that you were hoping to see?
no,
No.
there were too many things in here, and I wanted to
Okay.
combine
They're
some
gonna give
things.
us a,
And they're going to prioritize their list.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Did you?
I was gonna say, if there are no other budget things, perhaps the chair of our government relations committee wants to read what we approved the other night.
Everyone got
And
it
maybe we can
text,
find
so
out
if you really need
when
someone to
the
read it,
letters
that'd
will
be
be, oh, I didn't see that, when the letter will be sent to our legislators. So if we could just nail that down
So
possibly.
are we done with the budget conversation?
That's what I'm
Is there
asking.
anything else you guys won't need? You want to say more?
Anything
She sent everything else.
I did,
Yeah.
but it might not, I got the email as a parent. I don't know, did you see an email from David today? Or
Yeah,
whatever?
that came out.
The message.
Did you get one?
I do not know.
There was
I'm
an
not
email.
reliant on
Yeah,
the
it was an
email.
There was an email from David.
Yeah,
It was more towards the end of the day.
yeah, because I was like.
You got it as a parent?
As a parent, I'll tell you right
Because
now.
I don't
We
think.
got it as
it's
a parent at
warning.
12:06, I didn't see it till just now.
Let me look.
Let me see, 'cause I'm not sure.
I was shocked they sent the message.
I got it as a parent, I did not get it as a board member.
Yeah, we didn't, so the public is not aware, necessarily. Parents are aware.
It came with their parent.
Parents,
It
yeah,
came with their parent.
parents.
Okay, so if the school community, the parents have received, I'm just curious when the letter will go from our superintendent to our legislators as requested in our resolution, if we don't have that answer yet.
Do we want to read the resolution first for the community publicly, for anyone who's watching?
Do we want to? Yes,
Go
I
ahead.
will read it. So it's, the resolution is regarding the village incorporation, and it's recommending correspondence from Dr. Iverson. and I will just read it verbatim. Whereas, from time to time, persons residing within the territories of the town of Greenburgh circulate petitions to form incorporated villages within the town. And whereas, Article 2 of New York State Village Law permits persons residing in such territories containing a population of at least 500 persons who are regular inhabitants of such territory to circulate petitions for village incorporation in a town when, among other things, such territories do not include a part of a city or villages and do not contain more than 5 square miles. And whereas incorporation of a village will impact property taxes within the bounds of Greenburgh Central School District and will place an additional tax burden upon the properties within the school district. And whereas the Greenburgh Central School District Board of Education believes that such tax impact will negatively affect the school district and its finances. And whereas the Greenburgh Central School District Board of Education believes all persons in our school district should be aware of the financial impact and should be allowed a voice in any potential village incorporation. And whereas Section 2-216 of New York State Village Law currently specifies the qualification of persons permitted to vote on such petitions as the residents of the territory to be incorporated. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Greenburgh Central School District Board of Education requests legislation be modified such that a state controller approved financial impact statement pertaining to both potential village and the surrounding financially impacted community shall be made available to the public for consideration and comments at least 40 days prior to a village incorporation vote. And qualifications of voters on a petition for incorporation shall include those in the entire territory of an unincorporated town, which includes all impacted school districts. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent of schools to send a letter stating our position on this topic to New York State legislators.
Okay, thank you. So Dr. Iverson, the question presented is, when is that letter going to be written? Tomorrow. Okay.
So
How is mine?
just to button that up, so can I request that it be sent to Senator Stewart Cousins, Shimsky, Amy Cullen, Feiner, and anyone else we can think of who might have to do with real property tax committees, et cetera, in New York State Congress?
So trustees, or even if the public thinks of any people that you should go to, please send us an email.
Yes, send me that so I can
And then
just
we
send it
will,
to me.
yeah.
Any
we will
others?
forward,
I
yeah.
have these
Any
names. but-
suggestions, give to us. We can ignore it.
Yes.
Good night.
Yes,
So
no, we'll
trustee Washington, and then we're gonna adjourn.
So I was just gonna say we should lie another one of those. Because he has to take it from our meeting to go to the meeting.
He needs that for his meeting?
Oh,
We should have more than one.
Mr. Brady is waiting for this?
Yes,
We own one of these?
I can get another one in here.
No, take it.
Okay.
Oh, you have
Take it, I just wanna make sure we have, no, it's fine. We're coming to your meeting, so we're trying to, it's not fine. Okay, so,
He's panicking.
so, yeah, it's.
I said I can't go in there
I
for
thought we only had one of those, 'cause that,
That's what I was
yeah.
saying.
So is there any other business, trustees, any questions, comments? No? And, for the public, if anyone wants to come down, they're doing a high school presentation on scheduling, so that should be interesting.
And if you can't make it, the Education and Wellness Committee had a similar presentation, and you can find that on the website under curriculum and instruction.
Wonderful.
Under EW, curriculum instruction, EWC.
And that's my report.
I apologize, though, there's a typo in there, it says that this meeting is tomorrow, the third, and then I just went to the PowerPoint, I was like, oh,
So,
same meeting.
if I can get a motion?
I move we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
It's properly moved in second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries, meeting ends 6:29 PM, thank you very much.